All right, everyone, let's get started. Hopefully you enjoyed your potatoes and brownies. There's a few colleagues outside. We ran out of plates, so sorry about that. So for those of you who don't know me, I am Benjamin Karen Schaefer. I'm an associate professor at the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering, and I also serve as assistant dean for graduate student success. And I also happen to be the winner of this competition last year. So no pressure on you guys. You have the winner here. So the winner of the competition will get this trophy here, take it home, and then his or her department will get to keep this for 1 year. You get your name engraved here. For the next year, your department head or your department, the reception, whoever you want to put it, gets to keep this for 1 year until the next event happens next year. Right? So this is the introduction. Let me, before we start, also tell you who's paying for your food. This is the sponsor. So you might have heard there's an office called the Johnson School of Professional Success, right? So we are organizing the event. It used to be organized for the Office of Graduate Education and another professor called Ben Porter. So we took over, and just to let you know, we're in ECS North 2.7 and things that we do in the office. If you ever need help with graduate student success activities that we organize, like this one here, learn more about graduate school, right? If you want to maybe do a master's degree or PhD and you're not sure what is good for you or not, what are the different options, please come see us. Also, we do we advertise different graduate scholarships. So if you're thinking about maybe applying for a scholarship from the DoD, NSF, and so on, we can help you applying with those scholarships. We have different workshops, and we also host career services, ECS career services. So we organize the career fair. We also have CV. We do reviews of CVs. We have templates. We organize digital badges for you. And if you're an international student and if you have to apply for a CPT, you have to come see us. Right? There's a lady in our office that actually does all the CPTs. Right? And again, we are located in ECS North 2.7. And we are paying for your jack potato today. Right? So we're sponsoring the event, and we'll sponsor it in the future. Rules for the candidates. We have 6 faculty members who volunteered to be here, and there are 2 main rules. Any idea which ones? No blood, no knives, no guns. Any other rule? No, there's very simple rules. Rule number 1 is only 1 slide. Everyone has just sent me 1 slide, no animations. You can only use 1 slide. And rule number 2 is you have 3 minutes. I have my iPad there in front. I have a timer. They cannot talk for more than 3 minutes. I will cut them off right after 3 minutes. Right? So 3 minutes, only 2 rules. There are 2 judges sitting in the front, right? Lacey Henderson. Big round of applause for her. She's our director for career service and professional development. And Christiana Hailu, also in front. She's a graduate student at CS and also our UTD Graduate Student Assembly ECS representative. Right, another applause for her. We did have a 3rd judge, but unfortunately she couldn't make it today. So we have these 2 judges, but obviously they're not going to just decide or discuss who's the winner. We created a rubric. So this is what they're going to fill out. So for those of you candidates going to present, maybe have a look at that, because obviously we're going to look into the comprehension part, engagement, clarity of language, your slide, the time, and so on. And when I said we created the rubric, who do you think created the rubric? Very good, very good. ChatGPT. I asked ChatGPT today, create a rubric for this competition. That's what it came up with. What do you think? Is it good or bad? It's good. Huh? Yeah. Last slide before we start. These are our gladiators. Let me introduce your faculty members. These are the gladiators fighting for these 2 trophies, this trophy here. Right, let's see. The order in which they appear will depend on when they send me the slide. This is when they send me the slide, right? So you see who works early on this slide and who is the last person working. I received the last slide maybe an hour or 2 hours ago. So the first gladiator is Cormac Toher. He is an assistant professor at the Department of Material Science and Engineering and Department of Chemistry and Biochemistry. Round of applause. Now, because he's a gladiator, I asked ChatGPT, what would be his Roman name? This is what ChatGPT came up with. Cormacus Stoherus is the name of the gladiator. The second gladiator, will be Mohammed Ibrahim, which is an assistant professor at the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering. Round of applause. And his gladiator name is Mahometus Abramius. It's your gladiator name. We'd have the third speaker, Yi Li. He's an assistant professor, Department of Bioengineering. Now, ChatGPT had a problem with that name, how to convert it into Latin, and that's what ChatGPT came up with, right? Ius Louis is your Roman gladiator name. Next person in line is Imtiaz Karim, assistant professor at the Department of Computer Science. Applause for him. And his gladiator name is Imtiazus Karimus. That's your name for today. All right. Next one, Professor Arianos Ratinia, professor at the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering. Round of applause. His Roman gladiator name is Arius Nosratinius. And lastly, our last speaker is Sunay Binta Hossein, assistant professor at the Department of Computer Science. Round of applause. ChatGPT also had some issues with that. It's almost the same. What your Roman gladiator name is Suneya Binta Hasaina. All right, so let's get started. I have the slides in that particular order. So the first presenter, please come to the stage.
Okay, so thanks for the introduction. So I'm going to talk about computational materials discovery, computational materials design, how we actually design new materials. So the basic starting point we have is seen over here on the far left. We start from what we're called structural prototypes. So these are basically different types of underlying commonly observed structures that are in nature. Things like, let's say, the crystal structure of something like silicon, or the crystal structure of something like gallium nitride, which is what's called a wurtzite structure, or gallium arsenide, which is a zinc blende structure, and so on. So then what we do is we decorate these with different elements. So we take let's say, the zinc blende structure. Instead of just having gallium and arsenic, we might put, let's say, silicon and carbon, or silicon and germanium, and so on. Then we take these different structures that have now been decorated, and we calculate it we use what we call density functional theory. So this is a method that sort of simplifies quantum mechanics, and we calculate the energy. So we can calculate where the electrons are, where the electron distribution is going to look like, and also what the energies of the electrons are. So this gives us a set of energies. And then what we can do is we can look at the energy differences between the pure elemental components that make it up and the actual materials that we've calculated. And this is what we call the formation enthalpy. So this is the amount of energy you get out when you say, for example, if you want to take magnesium and oxygen and you make magnesium oxide, this is the amount of energy you get out. And this tells us something about the stability of this material, how easy it's going to be to synthesize. And we plot this, you see this graph in the middle with delta H versus composition. This actually works. Okay, so we plot this delta H versus composition, and we get the we plot delta H as a function of composition, and this gives us, so if you then we plot these, what we call these tie lines around it to give us what we call the convex hull. So if something is on this convex hull, that means it's going to be stable. So the green lines we're going to form green dots here, green X's correspond to stable compounds. If we have something that's above, that's not on the convex hull, let's say one of these red points, these are going to decompose because it's going to be energetically favorable to form the two different components, so you get phase separation. Well, beyond just stable compounds, we can also say something about disordered materials. So the idea here is if you have a wide distribution of energies, then it's clear which one wants to form. If you have a narrow distribution of energies, then during crystallization, these are going to compete against each other, and you're going to get something like an amorphous structure like a glass. If the structures are similar to each other, and there's a lot of energies the same, then you get a disordered structure, so you get a crystal lattice, but they're occupied randomly, like you have on the right here. And then we can calculate the properties of these disordered materials from essentially a linear combination, a weighted sum, average of the properties of the components. So we get something like a density of states that we see at the bottom. Then we can train all this data, use it to train machine learning AI, and then select new compounds to form and see which ones do we want to calculate next. Okay, so thank you.
All right. Yeah, thank you for this opportunity. So imagine a world where the technology does not only assist us, but actually is an extension of who we are. Okay, so in front of you, you see a picture of a person who is actually wearing some smart wearables. You can see, smart glasses, smart earbuds, and you can see a prosthetic arm. But this prosthetic arm is not conventional. Why? Because it is not only moving based on how you think, but also it can adapt to your needs. It can also adapt to your daily life. It can also feel your intentions. Okay? So this is the whole vision of embodied AI, where the intelligence is not only sitting inside a computer, but actually it is interacting with the surrounding environment, sensors, devices, and the human body, and so on. Okay? So in order to make this something realistic and practical, we actually would like to work with each one of you, all the scientists from different fields. For example, we can work with mechanical engineers in order to make sure that these motions, the movement of this prosthetic arm is actually perfect and they follow this specific rules. And also we can work with material scientists in order to make sure that the biosensors we are using are biocompatible and they can be safely put on the human skin. All right? And also with computer scientists that allow us to craft algorithms in certain ways that allow us run these algorithms in very short time. Okay? So as you can see, it's all about co-design where different fields have to work together. So in our lab, the Embodied AI Circuits Architecture and Systems, ECS. So this is where we're actually trying to build this integration from the ground up. So we start by building this cool hardware. It's simply a special AI hardware chip that not only can detect data and classify data, but can actually enable the whole loop of sensing, reasoning, learning, and control. All right, so it is not only about classification, it can do even beyond this. Now, in order to enable this kind of loop, we also have to support embodied AI software, right? So we also work on embodied AI software capabilities that allow us to, first of all, perceive data from sensors like EMG, EEG, motion sensors, and so on, and immediately turn this into actions. So similar to how the brain actually moves, especially when there are new movements, okay? So overall, the AI engineering process is co-design, where you have hardware and software, and human interfaces have to work together. So simply, this is the whole design of embodied AI, and I think this is the journey that we have started in our research group, and we're inviting you all to join us in this journey. Thank you.
Okay. So my name is Yi. I'm from the bioengineering department. So the research focus of my new lab is on the fusion oncoprotein-driven sarcomas. So the sarcomas are quite different from most other common cancers that you may have heard about, like colon cancer or lung cancer, in at least two different ways. Number one, you can see here, instead of skin or epithelial cells, sarcomas originate from connective tissues such as bones and muscles. And even more importantly, sarcomas compared to many other more common cancers often are driven by the fusion oncoproteins. I know many of you are from the computer science background, and you write a lot of code, and sometimes, unfortunately, you will make mistakes. So you call it bugs, right? So in the sense or in the context of human genome, we call it genetic mutations. So when cells divide, unavoidably, they also make mistakes or those bugs. So common cancers like lung cancer or breast cancer often involve dozens, if not hundreds of such mistakes. Then in contrast, these fusion-driven sarcomas often have surprisingly very low number of mutations, sometimes down to just one mutation, or basically just one mistake. As you can see from the panel A, for specific fusion-driven sarcoma that I have been working with the other two professors in the last 5 years, is a NAPSTAT-driven SFT. So what's happening is a piece of genetic materials or information get misplaced in other places of human genome. The end result is two genes get fused together, and that become an oncogene, which means that it can drive the formation of cancer. So what my lab is planning to do, we will focus on a specific group of such fusion oncoprotein called the EWS1 fusion-driven sarcomas. As you can see here, what we are trying to do first to use different genome engineering tools, such as CRISPR, to build this kind of sarcoma models. And then using those models, then we will study the mechanism. What that means is we are trying to understand why this misplacement, this bug, can start the cancer formation or progression. And then, of course, one of the focuses is therapy. So we will try many different ways, such as more traditional drug screen or RNA therapeutics, and especially the cancer immunotherapy. Maybe some of you already heard about. You can see from the panel C. So what we hypothesize is this fusion-driven sarcomas may express specific fusion-derived peptide on the cancer cell surface. So they will be the ideal target for the treatment. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. So I'm going to talk about a technology that everyone in this room uses, whether they like it or not. It's smartphones and 5G. So 5G or cellular networks are the most widely used technology, used by more than 7 billion people with 800 plus operators. So with such an important technology that we are thinking of very innovative use cases, like autonomous vehicles, autonomous healthcare. I recently read an article about like human robot surgery, something like those. So the question is whether this technology is secure and reliable for the users or not. Unfortunately, the answer is no. So I have just some excerpts for different news on attacks on 5G and related networks. The most recent one is, interestingly, in last month, UN General Council, there were people who were trying to spoof the content of the important VIP people. So I get this question all the time, that this sort of attacks are mostly for VIPs. Why should we care about this, right? But interestingly, what we are seeing is recent trend is attacking mostly general users. And there are these sort of small chips that we use, we call USRPs, that anyone can use to attack general people. Remember, we use this technology for logging into any account, Facebook, bank accounts and stuff. So people are spoofing this sort of SMS to attack and get into all sorts of normal attacks. So there are some excerpts, like I think everyone in this room have few of these messages. You got $5,000, you got $1,000, something like this. So this is a general problem of cellular networks, 4G and 5G in general, to be honest. And what in my research we are trying to do is alleviate the situation. I hope I have spread enough fear in the room now. So what we are trying to do in my lab, we are trying to combine the theory and practice of different domains like AI, machine learning, automated reasoning, software testing, to ensure that we have a resilient and reliable next-G network. So 6G is coming up, so I'm very excited about that. I think hopefully everyone is. So we want to make sure the 6G network is not only secure, but it is able to defend against all this attack, and making sure that everyone who uses this technology is kind of sure that they are not getting into any spams or stuff. So thank you.
Hello, everyone. Okay, so I want to start by telling you about a simple idea that has transformed our modern lives. This is called information theory, and it is based on the 1940s work of Claude Shannon, and it is essentially the science of measuring, compressing, storing, and transforming and transmitting information. It is the basis of just about everything that touches you in your everyday lives, including Wi-Fi, cell phones, perhaps too, cell phones, streaming, as well as even genomic data analysis. Now, this, in fact, is the hidden engine of our modern lives. Our work builds on this foundation in three related fundamental ways. The first one of them is called integrated sensing and communication. This is about making wireless networks not just faster, but also smarter. Essentially, this is about communication that while it's communicating, it's also sensing the environment. So that, for example, it can sense movement or presence of objects. It can lead to better control of, let's say, autonomous vehicles, or maybe detect drones without having a radar infrastructure. The second class is called community detection. This is the science of finding structure in complex data. The work in our lab allows us to combine the graph versus non-graph structure so that it empowers us to do cross-domain analysis and make new discoveries. The third one is in the domain of security, and it is called hardware Trojans. So we are interested in new threats to wireless communication that arises from the hardware of the wireless communication to be infiltrated. This is a new class of threats, and it's very insidious, and the work that we do allows us to understand, analyze, detect, and hopefully neutralize this threat so that our wireless communication will be safer. All of this is joined together by one underlying theme, and that is information theory. Information theory allows us to do all of these things, and it allows us to solve problems that were previously thought unsolvable. And in that way, it continues to help us revolutionize your lives. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Sonia. I'm newly joined assistant professor in the computer science department. Over the next 3 minutes, I will try to convince you that my research is worth your attention and that you all should join forces with me in solving the next generation of software engineering challenges. Let's start with a story. Imagine that you are a post office manager working in a small town in the UK. Every day you balance your books and you trust the computer software that tracks the money. Suddenly one morning you saw that the numbers are not adding up and that the software system is showing that thousands of pounds are missing. And that nightmare became real for thousands of post office workers between 1999 and 2015. A software system called the Horizon, built by Fujitsu company, falsely reported financial discrepancies, causing to prosecution, imprisonment, financial job losses, financial ruins, and forced suicide. Moving on to the next story, imagine that you have an iPhone and you added all of your credit card information to the Apple wallet. I'm sure all of you did. And because you trust that Apple will store the data safely and it will encrypt all the data. But that trust was broken in 2014 when a very silly copy and paste mistake, which was basically a duplicate line of statement, which was a bug known as Apple Go to Fail bug that caused the system to accept invalid SSL and TLS certificates and making millions of Apple devices, compromising the security of millions of Apple devices across the world. And as for the last story, in 2012, a company called Knight Capital, which was a stock trading company, deployed a software update, not even the entire system, deployed a software update which had a hidden bug, and that caused the company $460 million loss just in 45 minutes, causing the company almost bankruptcy. So the question is, what is the reason behind all of these catastrophes? The big reason is inadequate and ineffective software testing and verification. And so the bigger question is, what can we as researchers do to prevent such failures in the future? My lab here at UTD, we develop AI-driven automated software solution to improve software reliability. Our research spanned across automated specification generation, automated testing and verification, automated software debugging, automated bug localization and repair. And our mission is simple, that we want to make sure that the software we build and the AI that powers them are trustworthy, safe, and resilient. In summary, we want to save life, protect user privacy, and prevent the next $1 billion software failure. Thank you.
All right, this actually concludes the event. So I just had one last slide for you. Let's thank again all the speakers. let's all leave the room so the judges can talk, deliberate, and then let's see who wins the competition. Thank you.
Okay, this was actually a very tough decision. All of the candidates, you did an amazing job. We did, battle it out between the two of us, and we both decided that Dr. Yi is the winner. Congratulations. You did really, really well. The research was just so detailed, and that was something that was really important to this judge. And then something that was really important to me was how articulate you were in explaining some very difficult, complex concepts. So thank you.
Bioengineering statement is back. This, and then you're going to take this one away. Okay.